Yes, people, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel, people. As you can see today, we're joined by a man like Matt, from Brentford. He hasn't got a YouTube channel, people, you know what I mean? But he was actually he used to work at Copper Night, right? Before.
Yes, yeah, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys might recognize him from there. But yeah, massive preview, people, because we're playing Brentford, a team who in our last 5 games we've won 0, drawn twice, and lost 3 times as well. And I saw a crazy stat as well, people, earlier, which I honestly couldn't believe. Chelsea have won 6 in a row for the first time since Tuchel in 2022. Chelsea's last attempt at 7 in a row was against Brentford. That ended 4-1 against Brentford, right? So Chelsea's next game is Brentford again, which is crazy. I honestly can't believe that. What's the odds of that happening?
That was a great day for 50% of us.
How's it going though, first of all, bro? You good?
Yes, brother. Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. How's things?
Yeah, things are good, man. Chelsea are ticking along nicely at the minute. Maresca's transformed us right now. Last season was having a lot of conversations about, lack of tactics, lack of structure, injuries, consistently missing chances. But this time round, we're speaking about a lot more positives than negatives, in all honesty. I mean, what have you thought about, what you've been seeing from Chelsea this season, bro?
Mate, I'm very impressed, and it actually makes me laugh. And I've got to give you a bit of an apology, to be honest, mate, because you were always in the group chat, kind of standing by the players and kind of saying that you could see the DNA of the club and how it's changing and how stuff was progressing. And I think sometimes if you don't follow a team as closely, you don't really see it. And I didn't see much of a change initially. I didn't see the patterns of play. I didn't see the style. I think a lot of people put Man United under the microscope and seeing what Amarin's going to do there, and like I can't see their style coming through. But obviously, Chelsea at the moment look great, and anyone that backs Nicholas Jackson as much as you do as well, I got to take my hat off to him. But no, it's good. And do you know what? I think for the Premier League, it's a fantastic thing as well. I do. Carragher the other day when he was saying about, it's not a fairy tale story, like. I get it. I don't think anyone was really saying that. It's just quite nice to see a club coming along. There's a lot of money being spent on players, but you look at how many big teams spend a lot of money on players and it doesn't click and it doesn't work. So it's easy to sit down when it starts coming together and go, oh, well, you spent £1 billion. But a lot of clubs have spent a lot of money and not kind of got those results. So I think it's fantastic.
The narrative. Exactly. Yeah. And let's not forget the narrative at the time when we're spending that money and we were getting mocked at how many players we're bringing in. How's Maresca going to deal with the chemistry, the harmony of the team? There's too many players. Carragher famously himself was talking about players should stop signing for Chelsea. You know what I mean? Yeah. And who are all these nobodies? Who the hell is Vega? Who the hell is Jorgensen? Who the hell is Gusto? Who the hell are all these guys? You know what I mean? Yeah. But in the background, it's very clear that we've got, good scouts. We signed Jackson for not even 35 million, 40 million, right? Last season got 14 goals in the league in his first year in a shit team. Already is nearly on 10 Premier League goals. We signed the likes of Gusto, Omarodian. I didn't even want this guy, Matt, and he's banging in goals for fun right now, right?
Yeah.
Vega, unknown player. We signed this guy, not even 15 million, and he's someone that's come in and is a solid squad player. So we're cooking right now. Let's be real, we're cooking right now, man. And I'm seeing Brentford have been cooking as well. It seems like you are scoring a lot of goals at the minute. So I didn't know how you would get on without Ivan Toney, but it looks like Thomas Frank has managed to find quite a lot of solutions. What have you thought about your season so far, bro?
It's great, man. Obviously, everyone doesn't follow Brentford, so I'm sure a lot of people have seen the stats about with the highest scoring team at home in the Premier League. We have the most points. I think we only dropped points to West Ham when we drew, so unbeaten at home. But then obviously the antithesis of that is our away form, which is absolutely stinking. I don't think we've kept a clean sheet all year. We've got 1 point away on the road, which was frustrating. That was actually away at Everton the other week. And I went up to that game and Everton had nothing about them, but we had Norgard, our captain, sent off just before half time, which was a criminal decision. Got overturned as well. Like went to VAR sent him off. So we played the whole of the second. It was a 0-0 draw. Whole second half, 10 men. We definitely would have beaten them with 11 men on the field. And then 2 days later, the red card is overturned. So, I mean, it's nothing new that everyone absolutely despises VAR, but what a joke, man. Like, what is the point? There should be zero room for error on those things. But ultimately, it's been wicked, mate. Like going down to the G-Tech, the narrative around like we're a small club, we should just be excited to be here. Like I'm still excited. Like every Prem game does excite me, but we are building and we look stronger. And I think a lot of people kind of took from Tony going that, that's it. I saw there's that insufferable what's the lad that's on TalkSport that supports Chelsea?
Condi.
No, like the younger lad that used to be like EastEnders.
Is it Rory?
Rory, yeah. Like, I remember seeing him at the beginning of the season, being like, Brentford done for, Tony's gone, da da da. And it's like, hey, if you look at last season, obviously Tony was out for 8 months. Look at how well Brian and Wiesa did together then. Like,
I
can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but we picked up more points without him than we did with him, basically. So like from a lot of decent sports publications and editorial, there's a lot of lazy assessments of like Tony's gone, Brentford are done for. Whereas it really like couldn't be further from the truth. I didn't think we'd be doing as well as we're doing and scoring as many goals we're scoring. And we've got a lot of players to come back still as well. We've got Igor Thiago, who's just started playing a few games, who is what seems to be a like-for-like replacement of Ivan Toney. Very clinical in front of goal, very cool, very calm, big physical presence, but like we're not just going to root one it to him the whole way. So I'm just excited, man. I think as well as we're doing, when you're a club like Brentford, you're always looking at like getting to that 30-point mark and being like, at least we can't get relegated, or we're close to not being relegated now, which is at this point in time where you want to be.
100%, bro, 100%. And listen, watching some of your games back, I can see how you sort of build from the back, and I can see exactly why you find a lot of space to find the likes of Wiesa and what's his name, Mbuemo as well. So if you just see here, right, this is some of your build up. So this was against Aston Villa. To be fair, this was a game where you actually struggled to break them down, in all honesty. That mid block that they had was very good. Mbuemo didn't have a great game, but you can just clearly see the shape here, right? You had a three at the back there, you had a pivot over here, and then you've got Wiesa, obviously Mbuemo on that side. And this is Norgard, isn't it? In between the lines.
I think it might be Damsgaard from there. But,
Damsgaard, all these names are similar, man. Why have a lot of Scandinavian players?
Most of the Danish international team in our squad. Yeah.
But yeah, what have you sort of thought about your build-up play, and what is it about what you're struggling with going away at the moment? What is it?
Yeah, I think when I've seen us play away, like one that really springs to mind, we actually lost this game as well, and we had a really good first 20 minutes, and we were playing it out comfortably. And then I think we just invite the press too much sometimes. I think I hate sometimes going to the games and hearing the old boys behind being like, just hit it long, Like, no, like you need to understand that drawing in the press opens the space up in the middle of the park. It's a risk and reward game. It's like when your keeper plays it out from the back. Look at Nana last night had that absolute howler for United when he kicked it out and he scored. But we're very good at playing out. I just feel, I don't know even if it's stuff like the dimensions of the pitch at the G-Tech that the players are used to it. I feel like I don't see us panic at home when we play it out, and we will consistently play it out. I think Fleck and
this is at home. I've got the screenshot here. This is you against Leicester at home. The setup here. We'll talk about that as well.
Yeah. So this is when you're traveling out. So all of the three it's kind of like a 3-4-3 mainly. So those three players that are tucked in normally will be Collins, Vandenberg, and Ethan Pinnock, who's on the ball there. Just really comfortable playing in the middle of the park, switching it around, and then opening up those two in the pivot in the middle. So the one at the bottom there is Norgard, who's a very good kind of ball-winning player. And then the number 8 just in front, Jensen, who on his day is one of the best passers of the ball I've ever seen. Sometimes his decision-making is not great, and he causes a lot of turnovers for us. And I think that's where quite a few goals have come from this season and last season as well. But the confidence at home just doesn't seem to resonate or kind of transition to our away form. I don't know if it's just going to places and it's like a cauldron and the crowd get on your back and the players don't know it. But fair play, Thomas Frank. Like, we don't set up much differently when we go away from home, which maybe we should be doing. Maybe we should look at that kind of that defensive pivot should maybe be Jan out in there instead of Jensen, which is two CDMs kind of playing off each other, but both can still pick a pass. But for now, I enjoy it, man. I like going away. I like us kind of. It would be good. I don't think we're as one-dimensional as, say, Spurs, like I don't, I don't believe that Ange has any plan B, and like a lot of people loved
Mhm.
it at the beginning, and now there's an expectation on Spurs as well. There's not much of an expectation on Brentford. If we stay up,
Yeah.
everyone's happy. If we ever got close to Europe or a good cup run, brilliant.
Mm.
I just think we can get away with it for now. Maybe in 2 seasons' time, if we keep going
Mhm.
with this approach and there's no plan B and we don't switch up away from home,
Mm.
then people might get a bit annoyed. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's and it works so well at home. So it's just
Mm.
very hard to understand that. Thomas Frank was on the High Performance podcast this week or
Mm.
last week, and they were asking him about the away form, and he was just like, I
Doesn't
don't
know.
know. I can't tell
Yeah.
you. Like yeah, very
Mhm.
articulate. I mean, he's a real joy to listen to.
Mm.
And not just from a Brentford perspective. Like you listen to like how he talks about his team, players,
Mhm.
the club, formation, strategy.
Mm.
But he just draw a blank. It's like, why have you only got 1 point away from home? And he just was like, I honestly, I cannot tell you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear it, man. And listen, I'll be real. Like watching Brentford play, you lot play some good football. In all honesty, one thing that I've recognized about your style of play is that you combine a lot together, and your players play quite closely to each other as well. This
Yeah,
pivot is always moving together. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Always moving together. You see your fullbacks, they tend to stretch the pitch, which makes the opposition fullback have to worry about them, and that
yeah,
gives these two a lot more space. Because when you get Wisa on that half turn, he's
yeah,
driving at you, right? And he's going to give it to Mbeumo. Yeah, and these lot are quite clinical, right?
yeah,
And one thing I've noticed about you as well, Matt, you like to play on the wing a lot as well. You like to play it to your wingers. You like to play it to your fullbacks to try and
yeah,
get it in the box. You overload the areas inside the box as well. If I show you this, they're going to try to squeeze you in. When they can smell blood, they're going to try to squeeze you in. So you can see here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Obviously, this is at home, but I
yeah,
can still see you doing similar sort of things at the bridge. Because one thing about you guys, you're brave in your play, and you believe in what your manager's doing, right? Because Frank's been linked to many jobs, bro. Spurs, even
yeah,
Chelsea was linked to us. He was linked to United. So this is a manager that knows what he's doing. And
yeah,
even last season when we played you, you beat us at the bridge, and obviously we lost away from home. But I could see that you're a well drawn team that knows what you're doing, bro. So I'm not taking this game lightly. I'll be honest with you, bro. I am not taking this game lightly. And one thing that we need to do, we need to make sure that we're winning that midfield battle again. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Maresca's walked into a solution where he's got Caicedo sort of inverting into the midfield. I will do the same thing for this game because I want to make sure that I'm overloading that midfield because that's where I'm seeing Brentford having a lot of their patterns, a lot of their play seems to come through there. And if you look here as well, people, this is some of the goals that they scored, right? So if you give Brentford space on the ball, this is what they can do to you, right? This is one of the goals that you scored against Leicester. Yeah,
hmm,
this is from a midfield position. This is that new striker that you've got. Is it Kevin? What's his surname? Kevin Shard?
Shardy, yeah, yeah, or Shardy,
Shardy. Yeah.
yeah.
He looks. Yeah, him. He's clinical, man. He scored a hat trick last game, didn't he?
He did, yeah, yeah, and he was another one that
Yeah.
was out injured for a long. He actually came the summer before, but
Mm.
was out injured, if not all of last season for like a vast majority of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came in, he was like, I mean, effectively, he was a new signing, but he actually felt like a new signing, even though he'd been at the
Yeah.
club 12
He's
months previous.
Bro, he is dangerous in the box, man. Dangerous in the box. And one thing Brentford like to do, they like to find him in behind. These sort of balls is what they play to him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you look
yeah.
here as well, you can see that's another through ball. And the play before you actually played it through to him was brilliant.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The
yeah.
way
It's
you
a
look
little
through
give
the
and go
back, you
around the
gave it to
corner.
Wisa.
Yeah,
Exactly, little give and go from Wisa. That all came from the back. That was Norgard. He was involved in that as well. So that's an area where I'm looking at it here in the midfield. We need to make sure that we're switched on. We counter
yeah,
press very well, Matt. But Brentford, they are good in those little combinations that they play. You know what I mean? You
yeah.
rotate really well in that midfield, man.
I think away from home we struggle. I think there will be a lot of reward if you not push us high. We can play out, but every time it seems to be primarily away from home that we just something seems to change. Whether it's psyche, whether it's maybe we are trying to play a different strategy, but when we try and play it out away from home, and yeah, Spurs was the big one where I watched it and I just had my head in my hands. Sometimes you see clubs that can't play out from the back. Like we
Mm.
can do it. I think watching like Southampton at the beginning of the year, I was like, these guys need to stop trying to play out from the back because it's just a car crash every time they do it. But We can do it. Most weeks we can do it. Most weeks we can play. And you look at most of those goals, like that one there, where there's that transition in the middle of the park. Collins puts a worldie of a ball through that I don't think anyone thought he had in his locker, and it was fantastic. But there are away games where that press just seems to rattle our players, and then it's like, I think we're torn between, shall we switch up the tactics, go a bit longer, or should we stick with what we know? We know we can do it. Get your heads together. And I think we kind of capitulate. I've seen it happen time and time again. And I think if you put, as much as I love him, he's been one of our best defenders over the last few years. Like Ethan Pinnock is incredible, but he's had a bit of a shaky start, or he's had a bit of a shaky season so far. And he's been quite responsible for a lot of those balls that have been lost in that turnover or that transition out from the back. And I reckon if he gets pressed in this game, it could be trouble for us.
I mean, defensively, what have you thought about your defense so far? Because a lot of the games that I've watched back, you do sort of counter press quite well, in all honesty. But in the same breath, you play a bit of a mid block at times. I wasn't really seeing a lot of your players pressing from the front in some of the games that I was watching back. So if you can see here, for example, like Villa, they obviously play quite a high line. You can see that you're on your own half here. This is away from home as well. So this is the shape that I'm expecting you lot to play against us off the ball, right?
Yeah.
You've got there, bank of three there. You've got another bank of three here. And then obviously you've got Wisa pressing from the front as well. Is that what you tend to do in most of your games when you're playing away from home? Do you tend to not really press from the front, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. It's an interesting tactic that I've seen as well, because I think a lot of people used to say, like, look at Ivan Toney and be like, oh, he's lazy. But like, he weren't. He just was never instructed to try and it's more like cutting off the options than trying to press the man to make a mistake on the ball. So that kind of tracking there and that covering isn't a mad beeline dash to try and dispossess the defender. It's more cutting off the options. And we do it quite a lot from crosses as well, which is a weird strategy where a lot of times our fullbacks they'll go out and put a bit of pressure on, but there's no real intention to stop the ball coming into the box. And I don't know if we're so assured. Maybe it's not a great tactic if we've got 1 point away from home all season. But it's an interesting one. Like, growing up playing football, you think as a fullback or wing back, it's like, stop that ball from coming into the box. Don't let that ball come in. Whereas we seem to just kind of go zonal and almost facilitate or allow wingers to whip the ball in. So it's an interesting one. And it's interesting. It made it more interesting, the fact that it seems to work so well at home and not so well away. But yeah, it's not. I think we set up those banks, and as you said, it's more of like a mid block to maybe kind of slightly into a low block as well at points. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see the screenshot as well, just how they're set up. Because that's Brian in the middle, so he's obviously kind of shifted more centrally, and then Wisa's gone up top to press. But yeah, I would imagine, even though it didn't work for us at Villa the other night, I wouldn't imagine we'd set up particularly different to this.
100%, bro. And another thing that I noticed about how you defend as well is just your counter pressing. But the issue of your counter pressing is similar to us in a way, because like you said earlier, high risk, high reward. If you counter press and you win the ball high, you can attack in numbers. But you can see here as well, you were counter pressing against Newcastle. But look at all the space that you're leaving, bro. Right over here, you're leaving all that space over here. And in this game, we're not going to have Neto starting. You're going to have Madueke, because Neto's actually suspended for the game.
I thought he was suspended the other night, actually. Yeah, he got his fifth yellow, didn't he?
Yeah. So he's suspended for the game. But if you leave this much space against us, it's going to be problems for you, Matt. Because right now, one thing about Chelsea is that we are quite clinical in front of goal. You know what I mean? We've scored the most goals in the league. I think we've got the highest XG still in the league at the moment. If you've got the likes of Sancho running into this space, the likes of Lavia, Caicedo filling into this space here, Enzo Fernandez, who's actually giving us some real end product as well, running at you, bro, it's going to be problems for you. So, that's how you play. You like to counter press. When you lose the ball, so many players like to, run towards it and win it back. But the issue is we are good at beating the press. We have some quality players that are very good at just playing that one ball. And before you know it, you've got about 4 or 5 players running at you. Are you a little bit concerned about potentially counter pressing and leaving that space?
I've seen it happen a couple of times. I think it was again the Spurs game. It was pretty dire for that. But yeah, it's that. But I think we put that press on. I'm confident in the team that will know when to press. Like the show from the Villa game before. I think we know when to do that press and then when to just kind of sit in those zonal areas, just set the banks up and kind of not press too high. So I think a lot will happen to individual players and thoughts on the day, like whether they're going to press as a unit, whether anyone goes rogue. But yeah, there's the quality in the Chelsea team. And I was actually, I can't remember what game it was. Oh, it was UV Spurs the other day. And I was really impressed with Neto actually. And I was like, when he got that yellow card, I did give a little kind of fist bump because I was like, yeah, I don't want to play against us. But he looked really good. And Caicedo as well. I think, I was one of many people that was like, absolute waste of, not a waste of money, paid very much over the odds for him and didn't hit the ground running. But over the last few weeks, I've really kind of seen like, okay, this is why he's worth the money, or this is why the money was paid at least. Like, so yeah, I think there's a lot of quality in the middle of the park, and I think that would be the area. I think us trying to press high and getting done with 3 passes that cut through the middle of the park is quite a big concern.
Exactly, and that's where I'm looking at. For example, Lavia is going to be key in this game because you can see against Villa here, you lot won the ball back because you were pressing them quite high. I think that was Kamara that lost the ball, but you can see you kind of went man to man here. And that's what I'm saying about how you're playing. I'm seeing variation in how you defend. I'm seeing variation in how you attack. Right, goes to show that Frank he's thinking of different ways to win the game. You know what I mean? But yeah, you can see Kamara here loses the ball. You can see I don't know who this guy here is trying to press Cash. Then obviously you've got another one here. You've got Wisa here. You've got one there. You've got one there. You win the ball quite high. So that's something that we've also got to be wary about because yes, you leave a lot of space in behind, but at the same time, if Lavia, for example, or Caicedo lose the ball here, it's problems, man, because you lot are clinical.
I think this was actually the goal as well. Is it? Yeah, pretty sure this is the goal. Our goal. Yeah.
100%, man. But who would you say has been your best player this season? Would you say, bro?
Mate, it's a tough one. I'd probably say Wisa. Wisa for me is such an unorthodox player. Like he reminds me, the way he dribbles with the ball reminds me a bit of like Yossi Benayoun back in the day. Like really like a weird running style, but always seems to beat players. Like as in like there's just something about him, and like I think a lot of Brentford fans wrote him off. I think he was one of those players that initially fell into the category of like will work really hard for the team. His work ethic is second to none, but his output and his delivery, like not really. And then he just kept going strength to strength to strength. Like he's in the absence of Tony, he's absolutely shone. I think Mbuemo's been up there as well. And personally, I think Damsgaard has probably been our player this season. And another one that Brentford fans were starting to turn on him a bit, just weren't really doing much. And then this season, he's just turned into an absolute world beater. Just kind of dominates the play for someone who's not particularly imposing physically on a field in that kind of centre midfield, like we talked about earlier, those kind of in the middle of the park, just knocking it around the corner. He's just so good for it. And his vision's great as well. So I think headlines at the moment are Wisa and Mbuemo, understandably. But Damsgaard really has been like a cut above most players for me. And
is he injured? You didn't put him in your lineup.
Yeah, well, I thought we might go. The reason being is because I thought we would go Janelt and Norgard. You're talking about the kind of pivot, the double pivot in the middle of the park, and I think we would be better with that double, almost like a double CDM role in the middle of the park. But yeah, I mean, it would be. I would, if I was going to swap either Janelt or Norgard out, I'd probably swap Janelt, who I think was injured or he missed. I'm sure he missed the last game actually. So that would be slightly more attacking, but. To your point exactly, that middle of the park scares me. And if it means sitting 2 CDMs in the middle just to dominate it and have slightly less dimension in attack, I'd probably take that on a safe bet.
Okay. I mean, who is it that you're sort of looking at from a Chelsea point of view that you're, wary about and thinking, fucking hell, we need to make sure that we're stopping him? What 2 players would you say, bro?
I touched on it earlier. I think Caicedo, for me, I've just seen him. Like, I don't know how many goals or assists. I don't think he's like a stats player. Like, I think if you know football and you watch players closely, you know what he does in the middle of the park. There's a lot of players over the years where stats aren't particularly kind to them. I think maybe Firmino or someone like that. Like, there's a few of them that it really doesn't. And I think watching him over the last few games, I've just thought he was fantastic. Yeah, celebrated when Neto got that yellow card the other day. To be honest, like you said as well, like Jackson's a weird one. Like I watched him the other day and I didn't think he looked dangerous at all. But then his stats are like Was he on 12 goals this season already? Like,
I think he's on 8 in the league. I think he's on
yeah.
8 in the league this season. Yeah.
I know those kind of strikers always seem to do well against us. Those ones that are just like not playing particularly well, but will always get a kind of like, Ollie Watkins coming back and haunts us every time. And if Ollie Watkins isn't playing particularly well, it will at least score a brace against Brentford. So, yeah, I think between Caicedo and I just think Caicedo making opportunities, and I think Jackson it's weird as well. Our defense on paper has been very poor this season. We haven't kept a clean sheet all season, but I can't really fault there's no one. I think the way we play and the style is maybe not, but like I said earlier, Pinnock's been a bit rusty this season, but he's not like a liability. He just hasn't been as he's set the bench really high for himself, and I don't think he's been at the level he's set. Vandenberg,
he scored against us last year at the Bridge, man. If you remember that post header, yeah.
Yes, I remember that. Vandenberg, who came from Liverpool, has been good. Collins from Wolves, amazing, and you see the assist he got the other night as well. So it's a weird one. I just don't know why we can't defend. I think we make a lot of unforced errors at the back. Again, when you're trying to play out risk reward, it will happen. But I don't think we're as bad as maybe stats suggest. But I do feel like if we get overrun in the middle of the park and chances come up, I can see Jackson bagging. So yeah, I think Caicedo and Jackson are my two worries just through that middle of the park.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Palmer. To be fair,
yeah, almost goes without saying now, didn't it? Yeah. Against Spurs the other night. Also, when he done the man of the match trophy against the Spurs Cockerel was absolutely fantastic. But yes, I mean, to be honest, he completely slipped my mind. I think I'm trying to put him out of my mind so I don't have that. But I mean, what a player, man! Jeez. And again, hands up, first person when he came from City, just to be like, what was he, 50 million or something like that?
45 million.
I was like, yeah. And, I spoke to one of our good mates about it, and we were talking about Brentford didn't really sign many people that window. And we both said, well, the transfer market's gone mental. Cole Palmer's been signed for 45. Like, that's indicative of, and then, eat humble pie when you go. Because
he's another one that people are trying to call me delusional about as well. Because I was
I think I remember that in the chat as well. I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
I was bigging it up, man. I said every time I watch this guy, I know he hasn't had many games in the Prem, but he has had games in the FA Cup, in the Champions League, in the Carabao Cup. He's quality, you know what I mean? And even for England, watching him for England for the 21s, he was quality, bro. You know what I mean? So I didn't expect him to put up this many numbers. But I remember last summer I was speaking to Guna Lee, and I said if the ball falls to anyone, I trust Palmer and Nkuku to finish the chances. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he just blew everyone away last season, bro. It was crazy.
That penalty the other night as well.
I was there. No
way, actually.
I had the perfect view of it. It was unbelievable to do that away from home.
Normally when you watch players that are like icy cold.
Yeah,
like I remember like watching Ivan Toney a couple of times, be like, he's gonna dink it here. Like, At no point when he stepped up was I like, he's gonna dink. Like, it just it was. And also, I've got loads of Spurs fans that I absolutely hate as well. So it's even better when you see those go in. So a lot.
I'm glad you said that actually, because when I did Blue Diaries the other day, big up the panel that were on there the other day, I spoke about the technique that he used for the Panenka, because he ran towards it as if he was about to bang it. And then just before he took it, he made the keeper dive. You know what I'm saying? The keeper dive, sat him down. You know what I'm saying? And that's all about body language and momentum. You know what I'm saying? Change of momentum as well. That's a top player, bro. He's a world-class talent. I don't think he's world-class yet, because for me to call someone world-class, I need to see him doing it consistently for,
I think that's it. I think world-class gets banded around a lot, and I think he will be there. But also, there's a lot of stuff that happens with players where people often have this misrepresentation of like, if they're this good at this age, then by the time they're 26, they're going to be like, there's no linear. Like, look at someone like Rashford. Like, that isn't how football works. Like, it's kind of like, you get one injury, you fall out of favor somewhere, you fall out of love with football. Like, there's so many different variables and factors. But I do think if he keeps going the way that he's going, he will be world class, and he's not far. Like
100%. I honestly think if he's obviously look, he's locked down in it. He's locked down till the 2030s. You know, these long contracts we give
oh
out.
yeah, these average 8-year contracts. Yeah,
Average 8-year contracts. I think he's got like 9 years left on his contract, right? If Palmer stays here, right, for even I'll probably say 4 to 5 years, I honestly think he beats Lampard's record. I honestly think he's gonna score more goals than Lampard because he's the rate he's going at right now is mad, bro. Mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he hasn't even been that great this season. Like performance-wise, look, he's had a few good games. Like Newcastle, he was very good. Tottenham, second half especially, very good. Brighton, obviously, 4 goals, very good. But when we had that little patch with the harder fixtures, he weren't great. Basically, like his decision making wasn't great, and on top of that, Maresca tweaked it. He wasn't playing on the right; he was playing on the left of our midfield. And for me, he's better off the right. You know what I mean? In the left half space now, we've actually got Enzo that's been playing there, linking up with Sancho, who's actually had a bit of a sort of comeback as well. He's two goals in 2 games as well, and we'll speak about him in a second. But Palmer is actually up in his performance levels. That's what I'm saying. It's scary for people now because he hasn't even been that great, and he's got 11 goals in the league already, right? And he's got a couple of assists as well to go with it. You know what I'm saying?
He's also just exciting to watch as well. Like you see him, them young players, and again, this is also going to the point of maybe people don't develop. And I always think of Michael Owen, like he just has that fearlessness about him that if he plays for England too long, it will get coached out of him. If he plays in the wrong, Pep will coach it out of him. It just got this raw ability, like, and just watching him in tight spaces try and do some mad shit, and you're like, anyone else is playing that ball back, anyone else is playing it back off, retreating, changing the point of attack. Not these young kids that like, and it doesn't work, and then people get on their back every now and again. But for him at the moment, everything he seems to touch turns to gold, and like it's just so. There's been a lot made about players playing in positions and Pep City and how players are now part of a system rather than individual brilliance. And that is why the likes of Cole Palmer stuff is so important to football in general, because you don't just want it, like, as much as football is a team game, you don't want to see players just part of a system. You want to see, our generation or the next generation's Ronaldinho's or Ronaldo's or whatever.
Exactly.
And that's why I just take my hat off to players like that. Like, I've got a lot of time.
Exactly, bro. And you're spot on when you say that, because last year we had a shit system, but he was just doing his thing. Like we were Cole Palmer FC last year. This season it's good because we're not having to depend on him as much, right? But he's still one of our key players. We still need him in the team. So you're spot on, man. But before we go through your lineup, bro, what have you thought about Jadon Sancho this season? Because he came from United, he had a terrible time there. I remember when he went there, Matt, I said, bro, this guy should not be going to United with Oli, right? Because they're gonna do exactly what they did to Pogba. They're not gonna build around him. And clearly he's going there for the money, because they gave this guy like 350 grand a week at 21, 20. You know how crazy that is. Like, how are you going to turn that down? What have you thought about Sancho in the past? I would probably say the past few games, or his time at Chelsea even.
Yeah, I've seen. So he's only on loan, right?
He's on loan, but the terms are like we have to finish above 14th, I'm seeing, or something like that. So we're going to sign it. Yeah, we're going to sign him for sure.
All right, yeah, I'm happy for him. I think I can't remember if he scored in his first or second game, and then there was a lot of hype around it. Then he went flat.
He got an assist against Bournemouth.
Yeah. And then it kind of went flat for a while, and then obviously last.
He wasn't in the team. He got injured, and he was ill, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember just seeing like just the hype kind of went, and it's one of those things that just kind of went under the radar. But no, I'd love to see him kind of turn around performances. I think Chelsea is a team that accommodates him quite nicely as well. I think United for the last 5 or post Alex Ferguson has been. I don't know why anyone would go there, bar the money kind of side of things. I think a lot of players think that there's heritage there and that they can maybe reignite that spark and that flame at Old Trafford, but it way transcends what goes on the pitch by the sound of it. So yeah, I think he's great. I think he'll do great stuff for England as well. Kind of brilliant to have him working again. And yeah, I can see him at Chelsea. I think it'd be mad not to sign him, not to keep him on. He's still mad young as well, isn't he?
24. He's only 24. He ain't even 25.
Yeah. He's
he's lucky.
Those players that have been on the scene for so long, and you're like, oh yeah.
Exactly. He's so lucky.
Yeah.
He's so lucky, man. Because United is a bit of a. Go. Sorry, go on, bro.
No, I'd just love to. Like, I'd love to see him light up the league again, man. Like it was. Like what he did in Dortmund.
100%, bro. 100%, man. But yeah, let's go through your lineup that you've picked for this one. I was a little bit surprised by it, to be fair, because I'm seeing the likes of Carvalho coming in on the left hand side. Talk us through this lineup, bro.
Yeah. So Flecken in goal, who is our first team keeper now. Has anyone I said about, I'm not sure why our defense or why we've conceded so many goals. Flecken he's had a bit of a touch and go season.
Mm,
One of those goalkeepers that I wouldn't put him as kind of reckless as Sanana, but he's
mhm,
been told to play out, and I don't necessarily think he's a ball playing goalkeeper at times.
mm,
So there's been a few wayward passes that have led directly to goals, but
mm,
it seems to be getting better. That back three is a very tough. That's kind of like three centre backs, kind of playing off the middle with Collins in the centre, Vandenberg just to the right of him, and Pinnock to the left.
mm,
Keane Lewis Potter has been an interesting one this season. So he came from Hull a couple of seasons ago. Was more of a kind of attacking player and has now just been filling in on that left hand side. So unfortunately, we've had Rico Henry out for over a season now, who was for me one of the best left backs like I've ever seen. And I hope he comes back to full strength when he returns. But you just never know when someone's been out for that long. So
mm.
Thomas Frank started putting Keane Lewis Potter in this kind of marauding left wing back role, and he's been
I
incredible.
like this guy, man. I like him.
Yeah.
He's got hella energy, bro. He reminds me of a young Luke Shaw.
Yeah, and he's
Mhm,
more of an attacking player. He's just I don't know
mm,
when Rico Henry comes back if if we'll kind of see him go further up the field. But to be fair, we have actually got a young left back cover at the moment. I forget his name, but who's not starting because he's
mm,
doing such a good job.
mhm,
Norgard and Janelt in the middle. So this is what we talked about earlier. So if one of these players was to come out, it probably would be Damsgaard. Damsgaard would go in for one of them. I'd probably say Janelt.
mhm, mhm.
Um, but these Janelt and Norgard are the kind of CDMs that sit in the middle of the park. And I think, as you touched upon earlier, that middle of the park is going to be so important for this game.
Mhm, mm.
And I would sacrifice that. I think we've got enough with our wingers there to cause danger. So I think the middle of the park is just winning that battle, getting that ball down, spraying it around.
Mhm,
So I would play it safe and put the kind of two CDMs in. And Buemo pretty much
mm,
speaks for himself. Carvalho, he'd be the wild card. He'd be the one that's like, if we're
mm,
gonna go two CDMs in the center of the park, you got Wisa in there, you got Mbuemo, they can call it, but Carvalho could just give that extra dimension. He's been very rough and ready this season. Like there's been a few games where he's done bits that I've been really impressed by. Some of his decision making isn't great. I mean, he's still really young. I think he's like 20.
yeah.
So I just think he could be a difference maker in this game. And I think with how
Mm,
tight and compact it's going to be in the center of the park, I think a difference maker is what's going to be needed. Someone that might do
mhm.
absolutely nothing for 85 minutes and then it's just a spark of magic and it happens. And I think
I
he's
can
got
see
that
him
about him.
if you play him as well. I can see him sort of tucking in and letting him sort of take up that position, and then he
100%.
sort of overloads that midfield to make like a box. I would say probably for that one.
100%. Carvalho
Mm,
can roam through that middle and almost have like a free license, whereas Lewis Potter will hug that channel quite a
yeah,
lot. And we kind of touched upon it again earlier, like Brentford get the ball wide, but we're very good at working the ball into the box from wide positions. We don't
yeah, you
actually
are.
like swing it in that much. It's normally that kind of inverted ball back from the byline and work it in.
Mhm.
And that's where having someone like Lewis Potter come in, Carvalho come a bit more central, you make those angles for those cutbacks and to play it across.
Yeah,
So that will
yeah.
be what happens there. And obviously Brian on the other side will be inverted and come inside with his left foot.
Mm.
Um, we saw up there, self-explanatory, and Thiago. I mean, it could have potentially not had Thiago put Brian and Buemo through the middle and then had someone else on the wing, but maybe Sade could start. But I think Thiago, I'm just excited by him. When I was up at Everton the other week, we got our first glimpse of him.
Where'd you get him from?
He came from, where was it? He came from the same club.
Mm.
We signed a player that failed a medical, and they both played for the same team. I can't actually remember the top of my head, but
Did he come this summer then? Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Let me Google this. Let me bring him up.
because he scored 3 goals in pre-season, and then he got injured in pre-season, and then he
Mm.
was out till like 2-3 weeks ago.
So he
I
came
want it
from. Let me
not
check.
Bashir,
So he came from
not Bashir
Club Brugge. Club Brugge.
Cruz. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he came. Oh, he used to play for Ludogorets. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I remember him at Bruges. I'm trying to think the other player that we
Yeah.
got at the medical and then failed it, so we got him instead by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, and also like with this, we've got some decent depth on the bench. Got Yarmolenko, who can play in the centre of mid. Obviously, Sade kind of coming in. I think Sade's one when he started. I've been, there's players where they have great impact games and then they get their start and then they don't actually kind of play that well. So I think he'd be great as an impact player.
Yeah, in the box, I'm wary of him. Very wary of him in the box.
He's one of those players that, like, when he cuts back, that he's going to use the first man as a shield and bend it round. But he's just so, not comparing him by any stretch of imagination, but someone like Iron Robin, when Iron Robin used to cut in on that left, you're watching a game and you're going, don't let him cut in, don't let him cut in, because his lights out, and he's kind of getting to that level where every time he's actually right foot, but when he comes from the left hand side, it's there, and he's very clever at using that first man as a shield. Whereas a lot of players in this day and age, and my go-to is always Rashford, don't have the IQ to do it anymore. People try and knuckleball it past the first man and wonder why. You're just like, why are you knuckleballing it when you should be using him as a shield and finding that fast stick?
Exactly.
He's good at that. He's very good at that.
I'm wary of him for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he'd start unless he played instead of Carvalho, which potentially is on the cards. But I feel something in my bones about Carvalho playing this game. I feel like he could be the difference one. But to be fair, I think Frank will probably go with Sade over Carvalho. But see.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna play Carvalho, listen, for me, I'm fine with that, man, because I think if we invert Caicedo, he's gonna be the one that's sort of covering that side, and I'd rather a midfielder sort of take up those positions instead of an actual sort of fullback there. And if Lewis Potter wants to press up high as well, like I said, on that counter press, he's gonna leave guys like Pinnock and that by themselves isolated. Do you know what I'm saying? So
that's the problem, and that's why I wonder if. Like, we don't really have much cover for at left back, but Lewis Potter's been drafted into that position to work those channels and get up, and it does leave that back three very, very exposed. Exactly,
bro, 100%, man. But if I show you the lineup that I've gone with for the game, it's pretty much identical to what we saw against Tottenham people. I actually think that this is probably what he's going to go with. And the reason why I'm saying this is because unless Lavia's injured, because he picked up a knock in the last game, I don't know if he's going to be fit for this one, but I reckon he probably will be. Didn't look too serious. And obviously Enzo right now can't be dropped. This is the thing that you've got. He just can't be dropped, bro. He's one of our most informed players, So I've gone with Caicedo at right back. In game, you're going to see him inverting into this sort of position here. And then you're going to see Enzo going more into this left half space like this. This is what we do on the ball. I reckon Cole was going to start a right centre back for the game because last game Badiashile wasn't looking too comfortable on his right foot. He kept, having to make some awkward angles and trying to use his left foot from the right side, kicking the ball off. It wasn't great. Let me even zoom in a little bit more so that's a little bit clearer. All right, so Sanchez in goal. I hate this keeper. Fucking hate this keeper, Matt. But I just know Maresca is not going to drop him. I just know Maresca is not going to drop him. Not right now. I'm praying in the new year. He's not even a reserve for me. He should be gone. I want to sell this guy, right? In the summer, I don't want to be seeing Sanchez play for my club anymore. He's got to go, right? Yeah. But that will be the back three on the ball. Cucurella playing that sort of left centre back there.
Cucurella seems to have got mistakes in it. I mean, obviously the boot thing the other day weren't really his fault as much as Redknapp tried to make as much as Carragher tried to make out. But he's a weird one for me. Like, I feel like he can be quite. It's not David Luiz levels of
mistakes,
erratic, but like I feel like he's got mistakes in him.
Do you know what? Like, that's one thing about Cucurella. Like, I've always said he's someone that gets a little bit too tight at times, and he can be turned. Yeah. But I'm seeing less and less of that now. I just feel like he's kind of taken that mantle of being one of the more experienced heads in the team. One-on-one, he's been very, very good, bro. Very good. Don't know if you remember the game against Arsenal. He locked up Saka that game. Against Villa as well. They had that Jaden Philogene kid. He locked him up. You know what I mean? So defensively, he's been good. Like, that's what I'm saying. Last week, I've got to put that down to the boots. Like, he changed the boots and he didn't slip again. He had a good game. He wasn't getting cooked on that side. So I do get what you're saying, but say that again, bro.
That Puma endorsement nearly went out the window, didn't it?
Puma endorsement. He's gonna get in hot water for that, man. But he needed to change those boots because that was a joke. Fucking slipping twice and conceding twice from it. But honestly, I'm seeing him improving defensively because that's something that I've always said about him as well. Like, he gets a bit tight, he gets turned, and then he's stuck in the mud. You can just run past him. But recently, I'm seeing him, being really good defensively. So if Lavia starts the game, this is the shape I can see in the midfield. Obviously, overloading there, and we've got that box. And then Sancho on that side with Enzo. Him and Enzo Fernandez have had a very good relationship. Their link-up play between them has been very good. You see Sancho pop it off to Enzo. He plays it in behind to Jadon. And like I said, if you're isolating your fullbacks and making them go up, you're going to have a problem in transition with Enzo Fernandez and Sancho, bro. The way they play between each other is good. And then the little relationship that you've got between Madueke and Palmer as well, that's been good. Obviously, Noni hasn't started the past, I think, 2-3 games. But obviously, with Neto not starting with the suspension, I think he'll come back into the lineup. And then Jackson up top, I need him to bounce back from last week, man. Because, he had a poor game. I remember he had a poor game against Bournemouth. The following week against West Ham, he turns up. That's one thing about Jackson. He's got very, very good mentality, bro. Very good mentality. So I can see him turning up for this one. If we don't start Lavia in the game, I can see us playing a pivot of Caicedo and Enzo. This is the shape that you could also see as well. Or you could potentially see this as well. So Cucurella has actually been sort of going into this position here like this. And then Enzo will stay back and just dictate the game. So these two will probably be sort of alternating during the game, right? When Enzo plays deeper, you see him spraying those balls to the likes of Madueke. You see him trying to get it over the top to the likes of Jackson, popping it in between the lines to Palmer, right? And then when you've got him playing in this position with where Cucurella is, like this, you see him combining with Jadon Sancho. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we could also do if Lavia doesn't start the game. I think we're gonna have that protection in midfield. But like I said, for me, the game's gonna be won or lost in the middle, man. You know what I mean? 110%, 110%, bro. You know what I'm saying? But predictions, man. What are you saying? Predictions, man.
I knew it was coming to this. I've been trying to think about it in the background the whole time. Do you know what? I said to you before we went on, I was like, I think we're due a loss based on how good our record's been against you. But I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw, yeah?
Yeah. I think I would be more confident if we hadn't been so bad on the road all season, based on our current home form, and based on the fact that we've had great results against you so far in the Prem, but our away form is just so bad at the moment that a draw would feel like a win. So I'm gonna be a cop out, and I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I think we're gonna beat you. I honestly think we're gonna beat you, bro. Right? Because last season, I can bring that down to Poch. The tactics in that game, bro. I remember when we played you lot at home. He had Reece James and Gusto on the bench. He started Disasi at right back. We had the likes of Sterling not tracking their runners for the cross that came in for Pinnock. When we played you lot away, I remember Thomas Frank even spoke about it. The fact that Poch changed the shape against you guys. And he said, bro, I don't know why they're doing this. Are they scared? We barely started any attackers in that game, right? Yeah. Whereas now we've got better players and we've got a better manager and we're very confident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see you guys scoring because defensively, that's probably our weak area. We give away goals, we gift goals. But in terms of our attack, it is clicking right now, bro. So I can see us scoring a couple goals in this game.
There should be a lot of goals in this game, which then obviously means it's going to be 0-0. But there should be. It could be a real a 4-4 might not even be off the cards at this rate. But what are you thinking on the score?
I'm gonna say 3-1 Chels. I'm gonna say 3-1 Chels for this one. I think we score at least 3 in this game. What do you like on set pieces, by the way? You good at them?
So the Arsenal coach that now has his own mural was from Brentford. He was Brentford's set piece coach. So and there has been
a set piece coach that's from Brentford as well.
Oh really?
Yeah, we got him from you guys. The guy that always used to have the AirPod in his ear. I forgot his name.
Yeah, that was quite recent. Was that last year? Season 4? No?
Yeah, we took him last year, but he joined in the summer.
Yeah. So our set pieces, not as noticeable as they were. Defending set pieces is a bit bad on our part, which it shouldn't be. But yeah, we are not really as elaborate as we were. We've got what we tend to do is float the ball back stick to Ethan Pinnock and then get the ball back across, which isn't an elaborate thing. It's just the way of, obviously, when you play, it's that interesting one of keeping those players on side. So sometimes if you have say you've got a free kick 30 yards out to the left or 40 yards out to the left, using Pinnock as the player that plays the ball back, and then you've got 4 players that are standing in an offside position when the move starts, but they don't play it, and then it comes back across and they're active. So seeing a few, like we seem to be trying to go for that quite a lot at the moment. But yeah, no, kind of nondescript really. I don't think we're particularly great with them. I don't think we're like awful without defending them.
Yeah.
But,
have you conceded quite a lot of set pieces this season?
What's that?
Have you conceded a lot of them?
Yeah. I think we seem to do a lot of kind of zonal marking at the moment, which is quite odd. And we got like decent height in our squad as well. I don't know why we concede so much.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Because we're yet to concede a goal from a corner. You know, now I've said that, we're probably gonna fucking concede from a corner because, like you've said, you've got some tall players, but we're not scoring many goals from set pieces in the league, I would say, but we're not conceding them right now. Like I said, we haven't conceded a corner right now. In the Conference League, we've been scoring quite a lot of set pieces. Like even yesterday, Vega scored a set piece. So I'm hoping for one, just to add, more, because from open play, yes, our XG is the highest, but I want to see us, adding more to our game, scoring more set pieces, as another avenue of beating lesser teams. In all honesty, no disrespect.
No,
you know what I mean?
I think we must be. I thought our XG was top, so we must be, I guess, top 2 at the moment.
I mean, after last week, everything was first. Chelsea were first on pretty much all the metrics: most goals scored, highest XG. You know what I mean? Highest points.
I might just be looking at home form. I think I'm just biased to myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I just cancel out away games. Like, oh yeah.
You're forgetting about everyone else.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, good. But no, it's going to be a good game. And like I said, I'm going to be at the bridge for that one. Under the light, 7 o'clock. It's going to be interesting. But Matt, love for hopping on, man. Really enjoyed that. Let them people know where they can find you, bro.
Yes, Matt_carousel. And I'm probably starting a new Brentford channel soon as well. So when I'm up and running, I'll be back on Don.
No, definitely.
To pick apart the game of when we beat you 5-0 at Stamford Bridge on Sunday.
Inshallah, that doesn't happen, people, man. But listen, make sure that you lot smash up the likes. Any Brentford fans watching, make sure that you leave your little comment in here, what you think is going to happen in the game. Let us know what who your goal scorers are as well. Everyone else, let me know what your prediction is for the game. But we must win, man. We must win. I didn't even ask you if you think Chelsea in a title race. Before we finish up, bro, do you think Chelsea in a title race?
You know what? I think I'd rather see it than see Liverpool win the title, if I'm being brutally honest. Yeah, I think you are in with a shout, but I think, as you said, I mean, every game's important. This year the fixtures come thick and fast, but a game like this, where we have been, I wouldn't say we're like your bogey team, but we've had a good like overcoming these fixtures will mean a lot for and as 100. Much as big head-to-heads against the top 6, winning a game like this will do you the world of good. So I hope you don't, but yeah, no, I think you're in it. I think you're in it. Yeah. I do think you're in it.
We're in it until we're not. You know what I mean? People like to run away from it, but we're in it right now. We're literally in touching distance from Liverpool. But you're right. We need to start changing these narratives, man. Wolves have been our bogey team for a long time. We beat them convincingly started the season. West Ham have been a bit of a bogey team. We beat them. We've got you lot. We've got Everton next. Both our bogey teams. So we need to make sure that we're beating you again. But love people, man. Love for tuning in, people. Make sure that you're following Matt. And yeah, we're gonna get Matt on the channel again soon, people. You know what I mean? But up the fucking Chels. Let's get these lot, man. Let's get these lot.